All right. Hello and welcome to this webinar on quizzes. I'm going to share my screen in just a moment and we're going to get started here. All right. Kathy, can you confirm for me that we've got a full screen there? Slides are coming through. All right. Excellent. Well, this is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk about how to use quizzes, how we see quizzes sitting into the future of online learning and membership sites, what to think about when building quizzes, how to make them more engaging, how to help make them contribute to the overall results of the learner, and as a side effect of that, contribute to the business success of your platform. So we're going to discover how to use quizzes, question types, and feedback loops to increase gamification, social learning, and learner results in the real world. So I am super excited to get this going with you guys. So I'm going to be going into some theory stuff, but we're also going to be talking a lot about the advanced quizzes add-on that's rolling out on December 28th. We're currently in the pre-order window for that. And that's also going to be added to the Infinity Bundle. It will be an advanced add-on that you can get a la carte or get it through the Infinity Bundle. If you already have the Infinity Bundle, it will show up just inside your account the moment it releases to the public. So for those of you who are not familiar with Zoom and Zoom webinars, there's a little Q&A box that you can post questions to. You can also use the chat. I'm going to kind of go through this presentation and then we're going to have plenty of time for Q&A. I'll start with the questions and answers, the little Q&A chat box in your Zoom. You can also post in the chat. We'll go through those and also check out if we're getting any action in the Facebook group. So a look into the future of online education and our vision for where we're headed with LifterLMS. So the internet is a beautiful thing and it's given us access to all kinds of information, and you as a teacher or thought leader can teach online. You can, create this digital product. You can create information products. You can sell low price, high price, free courses, these information products worldwide to, anybody with an internet connection and a credit card. And that has been around for a little bit. But the next evolution of online education is really about not just information, it's about getting results for your learners. One of the biggest problems in the online learning industry is that people do things that they would never do in an in-person classroom regarding failure rates or disengagement. One of the big ones is people just leave. Many online courses, this has been through scientific study, survey, the completion rate average for e-learning or online education is 10%, which is abysmal. That's very low. That's extremely low. And we are committed to working on that problem at the forefront because we care about your learners' success, that they get the results that you promise, that you have a profitable platform. So it's really all about impact and income potential. And we're here to support you on that journey. So the days of the internet being just about information, those are kind of old days. It's still important. Information products are still important. The content is still important. But getting results, creating transformation and impact in your learners is really what it's all about. And quizzes play an important part in that. So we've got the content, we've got videos, audios, worksheets, text, multimedia. There's other great developers out there like Dennis Hall of Learning Templates, who's got the ability to add H5P content to work with Tin Can API and other e-learning authoring tools. We've got the content. So that is great. And WordPress is great at content. You know, it democratized the publishing of content for every person out there. But our mission here at LifterLMS is to democratize education in the digital classroom. And, you know, making, you know, educational content publishing accessible, we've done that. And now we're just leveling up or lifting up our commitment to the results of your students. Because if we all, everybody listening here, if we were to agree on one foundational piece that's going to make the difference between success and failure, or a small ripple versus a big ripple of impact out into the world, it's the results for your students. If we focus on that and cradle those results and do everything we can to serve those results, everything else wins. That's what it's all about. So there's kind of some layers here. Content is the what, it's the information, it's the ideas. Quizzes is about testing comprehension. Just because you've delivered content does not mean it was received effectively. This is the challenge that's age old of teaching since time immemorial. You know, people, you know, don't always get it on the first time. And there's different types of learning. You know, there's, you know, classroom learning, real life learning, you know, watching others, modeling. There's all kinds of styles of learning. But the quiz layer, the assessment or the testing layer, is a very important piece because it's gauging the comprehension. Did you get the core ideas, the mental models, the frameworks? Are we developing a common language to you know, build on top of? Because if that was missed, everything else doesn't matter if we're already missing on the foundational content pieces, the ideas. And that's what quizzes is all about. And that's how we're crafting it and building it from the ground up. Yes, quizzes are also important for like testing. And if you're doing certifications, or you need, if you're building a business around continuing education, where that's governed by some kind of board and credits need to be earned and people need to pass with a certain level of competency, that's very important. And you can use, and quizzes are an important part of kind of governing competency that was achieved through the learning program. But they're also just a key piece of making sure we're on the same page and have enough common ground in our building blocks to move forward as a learning team. So that's where quizzes sit. Comprehension. Assignments are about going out into the real world, or, you know, offline or outside of the learning environment, and applying, taking action based on the content and the comprehension. So assignments is coming. We're releasing our assignments add-on in February, and that will also be dropping into the Infinity Bundle. But assignments are different from quizzes because now we're doing things, and maybe some of those things that we're doing are part of the learning process as well. You know, some things are better to comprehend in terms of understanding ideas and mental models. Assignments are there to take action and get moving and do things and check things off and submit things. That's what assignments are all about. And then there's this other concept on top of all this called reality checks, which we're going to get into later, but just so you're kind of thinking about this, of where we're going and where we're heading, is this all builds up to reality checks, which means, does this educational experience create the result in reality? Like, it fundamentally answers the question, is it working? Am I getting real world results? Is this course, this training, this membership impacting my reality significantly? We'll get there eventually, but where we're going builds, these are all building blocks that build on top of the foundation of content, comprehension, action, and then does it actually work? Because the best marketing is a great product, and the best learning products create results in the real world. And we're going to get into all that in more detail, but I don't want to get too focused on the future and stay in the present here with quizzes and comprehension. And I've just realized when I'm looking at this slide that I put 1 Z in quizzes here. Kathy likes to remind me that there are 2 Z's in quizzes. So if you ever see that in an email from me or on a slide or anything like that, I apologize in advance, and hopefully Kathy will keep me straight. So the next thing here that I want to talk to you about is that profit potential equals results potential. There's a lot of conversation out there around online courses, membership sites, building online communities, summits, collections of people, live events around, you know, profit and conversion and maximizing value. But if we go back to what I'm talking about, if we focus like a laser on the results of our learners, the profit will follow. So the best marketing is actually the results that you dependably and reliably deliver to your learners. Results is where the profit potential is. Having a high converting sales page or a nice, you know, upsell, downsell, cross sell, or, you know, a beautiful designed website, or a great looking theme, or well-designed worksheets and things like this. These are all very important. And especially, don't get me wrong, as a scrappy startup education entrepreneur, you need to try a lot of these things to tooth and claw and get early traction. But the most explosive potential of growth is getting results for your learners and understanding your niche. You know, whether that's 100 people that you can sell $1,000 program to that delivers 10 grand or 100 grand in value. That's a lifestyle business. Add another 0, now you've got a big business. Or maybe you're doing a more volume play where it's not as high touch, so you need 1,000 people and you've got a $100 course. There's no right answer with the pricing model. But what's really important is the results. We need to get out of this. There's just a bigger conversation around results, not just information. If you think about all the bookshelves out there that have unread books on them, or you yourself, I know I'm guilty of this. I go and I get a book at the bookstore. I don't finish it. You know, I like the title. I like the result that was promised, but I didn't get the result. That's a really simple example of me disengaging or not completing the material. I like the result. I got the content, but there's so much more we can do in an online learning format that, is in service to results, to keeping people engaged, to continually to improve our learning program as a teacher, and also working on the student experience. There's so much we can do. I also wanted to thank you guys for your patience in terms of this note down here about avoiding software shortcuts. I don't know if it's obvious or not, but LifterLMS is built from the ground up around a first principled approach to learning and building an online business around learning. So in the very beginning of the Lifter project, which is many years old at this point, it's known that quizzes and question types are a big part of online learning, but we didn't take any shortcuts in terms of bundling in another quiz plugin or something like that, because we wanted to stay focused like a laser on building the question types and the quiz functionality that's needed for the future. And we're going to get into that in a little bit. But first, I just want to acknowledge you and thank you for your patience on bearing with us while we just had multiple choice automatically graded getting to here, because I'm really excited to reveal to you the new question types that are coming, and also thank many of you who are on this call for helping us shape the vision of what those needed to be. So quizzes test comprehension. So learning starts with ideas and mental models and then integration. So I'd like to give a shout out to a friend and LifterLMS user, Peter Felanius, who's really helped me see and understand and think about mental models in new ways. And one of the things Peter says is he talks about, mental models as a shared language as a foundation for learning, which has had a big impact on me and helped me, kind of see learning in a different light. But in order for training to happen, for learning to happen, we need to have a common language. And what quizzes do is they take the initial conversation, the content, and they reinforce it to make sure that we have a common language. Now, you can go back to what we were saying before about testing and passing requirements for certification or grade point averages or degree programs. Traditional quizzes and tests and examinations are used in this way, and you will still be able to use LifterLMS in this way. But we're also having a meta conversation as a foundation under all of that we're building quizzes to make sure that we can develop a common language with our learners, which is going to keep engagement high, which is going to lay the foundation to create success in your learners and kind of move beyond just passing content. So more on that in a little bit, because when you start teaching, the question is, did you retain all or some of the learning content? I don't know about you, but when I'm learning something, I very rarely get it all on the first go around. And especially in the early days of learning, it can be a little messy. There is no 100% retention the first time I learn something. Even behind me where I'm standing right now, I have a good friend who's helping me build this cabin. I'm a decent, power tool operator, basic framing construction guy, but I'm working with a craftsman who knows how to build really high-end stuff and is a true craftsman. And it's amazing how much I'm learning. And there are several things that he had to show me many times for me to get or allow me to fail and so on. But he's very good about developing a common language and core concepts that can be built on. So instead of just, giving the content in lesson 1 and moving on to lesson 2 with more great premium content, like a lot of membership sites do, let's make sure that we're getting the most out of lesson 1 first. There's also, by the way, as a side note, a trend in the online learning world, which I kind of like. If you haven't heard about it, it's called micro assessments or micro quizzing. So this is where, if we're at the beginning at lesson 1 and we're moving to lesson 2, maybe instead of saving a giant exam for the end, have just like a 1, 2, or 3 question quiz right after lesson 1, a micro or small quiz to reinforce the learning there. Because we need to make sure those foundation stones are in place that we can build upon before we move on and, develop on top of our foundation. So we need to get our students out of consumption mode. Nothing's wrong with consumption. There is a place for consuming content, but there's also this integration. And part of integration is checking to see if they got it and also using quizzes, quiz type thinking to gamify and make it fun. And just think about those key building blocks that are fundamental, because if you miss the fundamentals, most things trend towards entropy or chaos very quickly if there's not some fundamentals in place. So this next slide is the one that a lot of you have been waiting on. So I'm waning a little philosophical here, so bear with me. but I'm gonna get into the nitty gritty of like what exactly is coming to LifterLMS. What is Chris so excited about? What has the LifterLMS community been talking about that we've been listening to that we're bringing to Lifter? Before I get into this, or as I get into the question types, I would like you all to ask questions in the Q&A if you have any, because we're going to get to that at the end here. So please feel free, whatever questions you have, to ask them in the Q&A box or in the chat. So what are the 18 new question types? You heard that right, 18. That's a lot. What do we have right now? We have one. It's a multiple choice. So some of these are closely related. Some of them are completely different. And so I'm going to go over what's coming. So we're using some words here, and I want some feedback from you if I am making sense here, because it's not too late to rename any of this if it's not quite making sense to you, or if you think that there's a better name. So please let me know in the chat or send an email to team@lifterlms.com if you have any naming advice in terms of what makes sense. So what we have now in LifterLMS in the core plugin is multiple choice is what we call it. So we're renaming multiple choice because it's not actually a multiple choice, it's a single choice. So you have a question and you have, several answers, but only one single answer is correct. We're calling that going forward single choice. Multi-choice is what we're going to call when an answer has, let's say there's 4 answers and 3 of them are correct together. So a multi-choice would be something like, which 3 of these 4 people were presidents of the United States? That would be a multi-choice. Single choice would be, which one of these is the Prime Minister of Canada? Just as an example. So those are semantics, but they're important semantics. So with the new quiz builder, I'm going to go through these question types and then fire off with questions that you have about what these are. So there's text single choice, which is there's a question and there's the 3, 4, 5, 8, 10 answers. One of them is correct. That is a text single choice. An image single choice is if I say which one is a strawberry, and there's a picture of a strawberry, a grape, an orange, and a durian, that's an image single choice. A video single choice would be something like, which one of these videos was, made Apple take prominence in the, home computing world, or advertising video in the home computing world, or whatever. Something like that, where you're asking people to answer with a video selection. And then there's audio single choice. Think about language learning for this one. Which one of these words is orange in Spanish? And there's all these words, and then naranja is the correct answer. But the audio is there, not the written word. So then multi-choice. This is the similar thing where all these things, except for instead of going for a singular answer, you're going for a group answer. Select all the videos that, demonstrate cooking a recipe that's healthy or something like that. That would be a video multi-choice where there's 3 healthy recipes, and then, a deep fried Twinkie video. Then there's true false, which is a very basic, one of the simplest types of questions, but it definitely has its place. Then we have fill in the blank. Blank is the capital of Kansas, or, so it's a fill in the blank where you would fill it in. But then this is where advanced quizzing gets really interesting. We can also do manually graded. Maybe the fill in the blank is somewhat subjective. What if I am asking you, let's say I'm using our private areas add-on and we're doing private coaching, and the quiz is a little more personalized, and I'm grading it, and there's going to be grading involved instead of just manually grading, which Lifter does automatically and can do for the questions we just described. But now as we get into some of the manual grading, if I was teaching you business and we were talking about value proposition for your online course offering, the question might be, fill in the blank. My target learner audience is blank. So that could be manually graded. And I might be testing you to see how clear you are on who you serve. And so we're going to get into manual grading a little bit. That comes with, instructors, assistants, grading things. It comes with remarks, which provide feedback and another learning opportunity, a level of personalization. Then we have short answer, which is a huge one. That's a manually graded one as well. So if I were to ask you, if I was teaching you about online course business building, and I said, please describe your elevator pitch or your value proposition in one sentence, and there's a blank there for you to write one sentence, that is a short answer, and I'm going to grade it, and I'm going to leave remarks. And those remarks are very important in opening up that feedback loop for understanding. And then we've got long answer. This is where you're asking for a lot. Like, how do you see yourself in 5 years? That's kind of a long one. Or based on everything you've learned from my fitness program, please describe your 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year goals. Those are long answers. So it's kind of like an essay would be another name for that. Although some of us have a negative reaction in our body when we hear words like essay or even quizzes. So all that is to say, don't let the word quiz, test, essay scare you off. Many of us have negative connotations about that with our experience with testing growing up. But this is a new world we're heading into where, quizzing and assessments and quizzes can actually be fun, reinforce learning, provide personal feedback. So try to be that course creator who makes quizzing an enjoyable experience, but even more than just tolerable, an amazing part of the learning process. That's my challenge to you. Another one we're doing is code. So a lot of people, there's a segment of people who use LifterLMS to teach different kinds of programming languages. We've got the rise of AI and all these things going on with automation. Code it's basically like a long answer, but just unformatted for computer programming languages and things of that nature. So that one's in there. Upload. This one is really interesting. You can ask the student to upload something as an answer to your question. So if I said, upload a MP3 of you saying this sentence in Spanish. That could be the question, and your answer, you hit record on your phone and you upload the file right into the lesson there. And that'll end up it needs to be graded. So the teacher's assistant will receive that. upload and do something with it. It could be an essay, like instead of like being on the quiz, I may say, I mean, it's on the quiz, but instead of writing a long answer right there into the interface, I may ask you to write an essay about something that might take, several days and not just one sitting. But when you're done, upload it, because this essay is your exam, or it might be half of your grade if you're doing grading. So we'll get into that. And there's a difference between upload question types and what's coming in the assignments feature in LifterLMS, which we can talk about too. If anybody has any questions, just let me know about that in the Q&A. The other one is reorder items. So sometimes learning is, it's not just back and forth, this for that, this thing, that thing. It's also like, what sequence or order should these things happen? If I'm teaching you about building an online course, if you've listened to our podcast, LMS Cast, you've heard me talk a lot about the order that seems to get the most success, that people who are following tend to get the best results, and the best results for their learners has to do with building expertise first, building community, building the educational content, then wrapping it in technology or the LMS system. A lot of times people do it backwards. So if I were to ask you, here's four things, which order does Chris recommend that you focus your efforts to build your course for the highest likelihood of success? What should you do first? That would be reordering items. Matching images, matching text. This is a concept where you're going into the visual brain. You're using association, so it's not just memorization. It's, like if I was teaching anatomy about the human body, and I was, I had a picture of a body part on the outside and a picture of what it looks like on the inside, and you had to like match it up. That's a different kind of reinforcing learning, using the visual brain and pattern recognition, which is a little different from more abstract, text, word-based learning. So that's what matching images is. Matching text is similar in that, although it does include the words, like match these presidents with their year they were in office or whatever. That would be a matching exercise. And then another one that is not going to be in the initial release of advanced quizzes, but we've heard you loud and clear on from the LifterLMS community, and this is heard it from a lot of places, but also from the LifterLMS office hours, our weekly office hours that Infinity Bundle folks or people with the office hours add-on come to from time to time, is image hotspots, where they have an image. There's a way to associate like a piece of the image, and people are supposed to click on it. That's not going to be in the initial rollout, but we're definitely really excited about this one and exploring how that might be possible in the future. So that's a lot about question types that are coming. If you have any questions at all about any of these, please ask in the Q&A. And also, feel free to email us at team@lifterlms.com if you have any advice or ideas around the wording or the language we're using here, because we'd like it to be as clear as possible and make sense. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about manual grading. To this point, with LifterLMS, the grades, it's all automatically graded. And, machines doing the work for you of grading and building a completely automated system is great. I have nothing against that. But, with things like private areas for building one-on-one coaching in addition to courses, or social learning where you're building community and learning teams, this is a manual process. it creates conversation and feedback loops. And yes, it may not scale infinitely, but in some ways it becomes more effective, more valuable. You can charge more money for it. So I would just encourage you to think about manual grading and a place it may have. And maybe you need to charge more for your courses if you're going to offer grading, because that does require your time or somebody's time. But it opens up a feedback loop where a student can not only just get an A or an 87 or 300 points, they can also get feedback from marks, which is where the secret sauce is in personalization and learning. So they can have that feedback loop with the instructor and get help with wherever they're stuck. Also, it helps the instructor improve the content, because if we don't have a feedback loop open, if everything's just automated, we're not really, besides completion rates and seeing where people drop off and don't finish the course, we don't have nearly as rich of a feedback loop as we could have if we were actually grading our students, asking for a short answer, long answer, upload, fill in the blank questions to them. Then it becomes qualitative and we get feedback. And if we're consistently seeing that they're not really getting what we're teaching or not reacting how we need them or want them to react, maybe there's a problem with the content. So that's another just benefit of having the feedback loops open. Gamification through quizzes. So I was mentioning this a little bit about, let's make quizzing fun. Let's just be careful about our association with words like quizzes and tests and grades and examinations and midterms. These words may cause stress. They may cause, unpleasant memories. They may make you think of all-nighters where you were cramming for an exam or trying to memorize something or read a book really fast and, study groups and all these things. My challenge to you for the future is to not see quizzes as just a memorization, regurgitation exercise. Let's look at it like gamification and reinforcing key ideas, mental frameworks, mental models, building the foundation we need to have a common language. So quizzing it's not just memorization. There is a part, memorization gets a bad rap. And, you hear people say, like, I don't remember 95% of what I learned in school. And that may be true. But there is a place for some memorization. There's a place, but there's also a place for these other things, those visual things we were talking about, engaging the visual brain, the spatial, the relational brain, the tactile brain. If I ask you to, go do something and I have a question about that experience for you to come back and report to me on, and I'm going to grade you on your reaction. There's all kinds of different ways to assess, to quiz, to test, to open up feedback, which is a part of quizzing. Another cool thing for the future, I am so excited about social learning, and I want to encourage you to think about ways to combine social with quizzing. So you can ask people to, let's say you have a lesson content. Let's say you have LifterLMS social learning installed, and you ask people to talk about things as a group and then come back to you as an individual with some kind of response, a short answer, long answer, upload. The power of social learning or learning in teams. And again, another shout out to Peter Felanius for shining the light on this one in my conversations with him, is that when people learn in groups or let's say take concepts from a lesson, we had the picture earlier in this presentation about a glass of water and how much was retained. And most of the time, if we're honest with ourselves, when somebody's teaching or we're at a workshop or we're doing an experience at the gym or whatever it is, you know, learning how to dance, we're doing yoga moves, it's, you know, we're getting about somewhere between 90 and 10% of what's being taught, and that's okay. But then what happens is outside of the yoga studio or outside of the gym or in the lunch line at the workshop, people start talking about their experience, what they heard, what they got out of it, their understanding of the foundational building blocks, and a conversation ensues, which then contributes more to the learning process. So as a teacher, don't just think about yourself as a teacher or a course creator, think about yourself as a guide or an experience designer. And if you put people together to discuss and encourage them, like, this is part of the deal, find somebody in the course to talk about, you know, lesson 5 with, and then you have a quiz to take after you do that. Here it is. That can be an interesting part of the learning design, and you're also strengthening the learning environment by kind of building a spider web of relationships inside of it, where people start connecting to other people, reinforcing concepts, building relationships, you know, engaging with other people's learning styles. And it's a lot less about this top-down teacher guru to the student, where there maybe have other students around, but they're really isolated and alone in kind of a ghost town of a learning situation. That's, there's other ways to do it that involves a learning community. So I would encourage you to think about that as you think about the quizzes and assessments, and how you design them for the future. So again, I just wanted to thank you for your patience with the time it has taken us to get to LifterLMS advanced quizzes. We know it's something that you guys want, and it's really kind of expected in the e-learning, quote, e-learning industry. But we just wanted to thank you for your patience with that. It was really important to us to, you know, get a solid software foundation for you, make sure that you could do the e-commerce piece and collect money and build recurring revenue, validate business ideas, have engaging courses that include the engagement pieces and the automation of the emails and the badges and the certificates and all that stuff. But we're really focused, as you can see right now, on the learning experience. So thank you for just hanging in there with us while we get to the quiz questions. I know that's important to a lot of you, and it was a lot of feedback since the Lifter project began, as you really wanted that other stuff too. So it's almost here, and I can't wait to see it out in the wild with you all. But there's more. There's more coming, and I want to tell you about what that entails to the new and improved quiz system at LifterLMS. Some people are interested in question banks. We're working with a concept tool called question groups. And for those of you who don't know, a question bank it's kind of like a collection of questions. The learning management system is going to pull a question for this student from the bank. But what ends up happening is not every student is necessarily taking the exact same test. So one way I think a simple way to think about it is, let's say you have 9 multiple choice questions or single choice questions and an essay. And the single choice questions count for 50% of your grade, and the one essay counts for the other 50% of your grade. But those 9 questions come from a group of questions in the bank that is actually 100 questions deep. So not every student is getting the exact same question. And let's say the essay question comes from a group of 5 possible essay questions. So, you know, not every student is taking that same exact essay question. Then there's randomization and all that in terms of ordering it, you know, which helps with things like cheating or just, you know, mixing it up. And then we also had a feature that we've heard from you, the LifterLMS community, about save and continue. I want to be able to take a quiz, but it's big, or I need to be able to leave and come back to it. I need to be able to close the laptop and come back to it. So we're working on and towards save and continue. We're also working on the points, the weight, and the percentages. So what that means is if you are doing grades, you can assign various points to something. So, and it could add up to 100 or it could add up to more or less than that. So for example, if I have a course and it has a final exam that's worth 50% of your grade, that includes 9 questions and a final essay, and then I have 5 other, let's say 2 other quizzes worth 10 points each, and then I have 3 assignments, which will also tie into the point system, worth 30 points. Each one of those items is going to have you're going to get so many points as the grade, which is going to calculate your percentage, which then you can calculate further into a letter grade if you really want to. But basically it's, you may get like an 80 and a 97 on your quizzes. You might get a 60, a 90, and 100% on your 3 assignments. Yeah, and then you might get, 40 points, 40 out of 50 points, which is actually at 80% on the final exam. And all that comes together based on the weight to your final grade. So I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions about that, I'm happy to get into that. But then also there's going to be a grading interface for teachers. They need to be able to grade stuff. Students need to be able to come back and look at their submitted quizzes and the remarks they got on them. So that is coming too. So grading is about, there's kind of like an inbox of things that need to be graded. There's a place to score it, leave remarks, and there's a way for, students to submit that and also review it after it comes back to them. So that whole interface is coming as well. So we're going to come into the Q&A question here. And just to be clear on what this is and what it's all about in terms of the new advanced quizzes add-on, it is rolling out on December 28th. Currently, it's in the pre-order window, which means you can get it for 15% off at $169. If you buy it today, the license, your license, like the year, doesn't actually start until the renewal date. So your renewal date isn't, even if you bought it today, it would not be until December 28th, 2018. So it's also part of the Infinity Bundle. And when it rolls out after the launch party on the 28th, the price of advanced quizzes is moving up to the full price. And then the Infinity Bundle is moving up $100 to $899 from where it is right now. And eventually, once assignments comes out, the Infinity Bundle will cost $999. And that will round out the rollout of the Infinity Bundle. And it's been a great journey with you all. Thank you for all your feedback and being with us on the journey to rolling out these advanced add-ons in the Infinity Bundle. And we look forward to really, improving and building on top of this amazing foundation we're building for you based on your feedback, how you're using it, what you want to see in it, how it's working for your students. So we really want to have that two-way conversation with you and just keep keep improving and helping you build the best learning and training programs on the internet. So I want to thank you for listening to my presentation here about advanced quizzes. I'm trying to inspire you for new ways to think about quizzing and assessments and how they fit into the bigger picture of online learning and learning experience design. And I look forward to having conversations with you about all of that in the Facebook group and office hours, by email. Let's focus on those learner results. Let's focus on engagement. Let's focus on making sure that we get these foundational ideas, mental models, key concepts and building blocks that we need, not just premium content, paywall, and access. Let's think several steps out and really focus like a laser on results for our learners and use quizzes in service to that. So thank you guys for listening. I'm going to jump over to Q&A now. So I'm going to start with the Q&A box. Then I'm going to go to the chat. And from there, I'm going to see if we've got anybody over on Facebook that has anything to say. So thank you again for listening to this. There will be a replay, and I'm happy to take questions. There's also a, if these questions inspire more questions, type away, and we will get to them. And also, if anybody wants to go live and have a live conversation after we get through all the initial questions here, feel free to raise your hand. There's a little feature here in Zoom where you can raise your hand and we can have a live, back and forth voice conversation about your questions as well. So I'm going to open up the Q&A here and take it from the top. So Tim asks, is there anything in this new release that will help me and my students need to prevent access to the quiz until after the student has viewed the entire lesson video? That is a great question. Quizzes are going to be, you can put them between lessons. So there's not going to be like a timer to like delay the start of a quiz, but yeah, I'm not 100%. I know what you want there, and it is a common request that we're seeing more and more of in terms of allowing people to not mark a lesson as complete or initiate the next step until a certain amount of time has passed. But I don't know 100% on that one. That's going to be in the nitty gritty. I'm happy to explore that with you more in office hours maybe. But out of the box, I'm not sure if it's going to help in that way. But unless you were to use the drip content features that already exist in Lifter, so that there's a lesson that has content, the video, but the next lesson that has the quiz after it, doesn't drip out until a delay. That might be a way to solve that with today's version. But I'm happy to talk about that in more detail. Maybe raise the hand and we can talk at the end, or also bring it up again in office hours and we can explore that some more. So Kurt asks, will quizzes be able to tie into leaderboards or something like that on the roadmap for future releases? I think when you bring up the concept of a leaderboard, that is kind of a social learning thing. It might be, to encourage competition, camaraderie. Perhaps the leaderboard is public to the, like the internet. Like if you make your social learning community public where students can share their profiles and things like that. It's an interesting one. We have seen that request. It's not, I am starting to see more and more of that, but I would love to hear more about your ideal use case and scenario. It's not in the existing version, but we do get that request enough that I'd love to hear more from you about that. And yeah, if we hear a lot of something, just like Tim's question and Kurt's question here, we have to pick and choose our focus. Like right now, we're really focused on the LMS piece. We did They overhauled the e-commerce system, focused on access plans, got the whole money machine working for everybody. Right now, we're focused really hard on the LMS piece, and then after the Infinity Bundle, everything rolls out. We're then able to kind of circle around and strengthen all our add-ons potentially. There's other companies too who are developing add-ons for Lifter to solve various problems. So yeah, I'd love to hear more about that leaderboard one and exactly how you would use it, because hearing the feature is interesting. What really helps us is if we get like a detailed description or user story of how that would work. Francois asks, what about interrupting a video, take a micro quiz, and continue the video after successfully completing the micro quiz? You could do that right now by just dividing that video up into 2 lessons and putting a quiz in between them. I know there are quiz tools out there where you can embed content or like into the video itself, or put buttons and links to stuff inside the video itself. But I think the simple way to do that is to just kind of have a part 1 video, lesson 2, and then a part 2 video in lesson 3 with a quiz in the middle. I do think that's a great idea, especially if you have longer videos and are finding that your people are not finishing your videos. We did a webinar with Patrick Stiles at Vitalytics, where you can like really look in and drill into where engagement is dropping, and you can put stuff inside videos. If you haven't seen that, I encourage you to check it out. But I do appreciate that idea and think that quizzes are a great way to keep people engaged and basically send the message, before we continue with where we're going here, I want to make sure you got part 1 before we go deeper. I think if we look in the offline world and how learning happens in real life, teachers do that. If I'm out in the yard with a bunch of kids and I'm teaching them something, I may stop the project and just make sure that everybody heard me say where the fire extinguisher is, whatever. It's that interruption idea, like interruption has a negative connotation, but I think it's a good word. Interrupting content to check for shared language is a good idea. Nasim asks, have you thought about developing a TMS, training management system, to handle all processes related to the learners? Courses planning, quiz results, and more. Thank you. I'm not sure the difference between a TMS and a TLS. As Mark Mays likes to say, the e-learning world, or maybe it was Dennis Hall, that is full of TLAs, which is 3-letter acronyms. I'm not sure TMS versus LMS, because Lifter does have a reporting screen and student management area where you can keep track of courses or students. You can plan course layout and curriculum with the course builder, quiz results, and more in the reporting. So I think a lot of this stuff is already in Lifter, but if I'm missing a key piece or a specific question or feature that you're looking for, please ask again. So anonymous listener asks, are all the additional items, Q banks, question groups, etc., launching on December 28th? Yes, that is our goal. We are moving, we are developing in that direction. And everything that I talked about there, minus the image hotspot question type, which is very cool, but we don't want to rush that one and do it upright. And it takes there's a lot of interesting layers that go with that. But yeah, our goal is to hit everything you saw for the release. We will never ship. Well, we will sacrifice like integrity of your platform for, something, if something at the last minute is not solid, we're not going to force the issue, but our goal is to get everything that you saw out on the 28th minus the hotspot. You know, if something comes up, we'll be completely open and honest about that. And you see us, you know, frequently when we roll something out, you know, we often have some minor and even major releases following where we're adding a few more features or improving a couple of points and so on. So yeah, this is that wasn't really a long-term roadmap. That's like a very short-term roadmap that we were looking at. So another anonymous person asks, will quizzes allow for multiple questions on the screen rather than one at a time that exists on the current Lifter system? I'm not 100% on that one. The feedback we've gotten for most people, and taking into account what it's like with the mobile and tablet revolution, especially mobile, is that one at a time and is preferable. Also in alignment with the save and continue option that people really want. They want to be able to, you know, step out at a certain point and come back. So I'd love to hear more from you though on why you need this or what problem it would solve for you to have like a one pager of, if you had like 100 questions, like why you want that on one page. I'd really just like to understand that need, and I'm open to that and would love to hear more about that. So if you could provide more detail, I'd be happy to look at that one in more detail. Douglas asks, if I am already in the Infinity bundle, will the price remain the same or is it going to keep increasing? No, if you buy the Infinity bundle while the price is lower than the ultimate price, you are locking in your price. So if you already bought the Infinity bundle where it is right now at $799, then next year, or December 28th, you're going to get advanced quizzes. February, you're going to get assignments. And when you renew, you're still just renewing at the price you got in on, which was $799. So yeah, the price is only going up for people who haven't bought yet. That's how that works. We do have some of the coupons, like if you ever use a coupon in a promotion or anything, most of those are for just the first payment. But yeah, if this is the whole thing. When you take a leap of faith on LifterLMS and the LifterLMS team and help basically bootstrap and finance us building these amazing features, you are getting rewarded for taking action and early action, investing in the Infinity bundle before it's fully built out, which is why you've been able to get a good deal. And many on this call probably have gotten a really great deal on the Infinity bundle. All right, so that is the Q&A. I'm going to head on over to the chat and see what we got there. I'm going to stop sharing there and open up the chat. All right. I am just going to scan this down and then we'll head on over to Facebook. Also, if anybody has anything else, feel free to pop it in the Q&A box and I'll come back to that as well. So let's see here. Okay, Mary has said that in my world, it would be a multi-choice single answer and multi-choice multi-answer. That's exactly the kind of feedback I was looking for. Thank you for that. I am actually going to take that and put that somewhere for me to look at later. Yeah, words are important, so thank you for the feedback, Mary. Some of my question type examples are humorous. Thank you. Let's see. Amy says, long answer is what I would like to use for the student reflection assignments where they need to describe what they just learned, which prepares them for an interview. Yeah, I think what Amy is saying there, describing what the student just learned, like kind of saying it back, is a very valuable exercise in education. And it's an opportunity for, some spot coaching or consulting in the remarks or the grade, if you will, which then prepares them for an interview, which is a real world result that they really are hoping to achieve by taking the training course and get the job or get the good salary or whatever, be able to move to where they want to move and all sorts of things. So I love that point, Amy. And there is some of it is like a little bit semantic on the difference between an assignment and a quiz. So one of the ways I like to think about it is quizzes are for comprehension and assignments are for action. Both can be graded, like the action or what I'm asking you to do or what I'm asking you to let me know what you understood, or different things. But at some level, quizzing like a long answer or an upload question type versus an upload assignment, it can be somewhat semantics. There will, however, be other things in the assignments add-on besides, uploading a reaction where, you're asking students to check off certain items, like do this, check. And that's more of like an automatically graded pass-fail assignment. So there's nuances to it. I think it'll become more clear once we get into the assignments add-on. But yeah, I love what you're up to there. And that's awesome what you're doing with the reflection assignment or reflection essay, whatever you want to call it. I think is a great idea to reinforce the learning. Let's see. Can we get notifications if a student fails multiple times? Tom asked that question. That already exists in the LifterLMS notification system. You could get emails, you could get text messages, and you set off of the trigger quiz fail. So that's already in existence. Let's see. Douglas asks, if I'm already in the Infinity Bundle, will the price remain the same? Yes, it's going to remain the same. Janice asks, where can I access that video? I'm not sure if you're, let me know in the chat, Janice, but if it's the interview webinar that we did with Patrick Stiles about video teaching and video marketing, there's a link at the bottom of the LifterLMS.com website that links to the webinars, past webinars. It should be in there. But that is, if that's what you were looking for, if you're looking for a different video, let us know and we'll help you find that. Let's see, comment. Oh, this is great. Kurt left a comment that retrievepractice.org is a site run by a cognitive scientist educator who has good thoughts on using mini quizzes as part of the learning process rather than just for grading and assessment. I'm going to copy this comment, Kurt, and put this on my homework for later. So thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that. I geek out about this kind of thing, and it's fun for me. That's the kind of thing I'll spend a lot of time checking out. Okay, Kathy's got the link there for the Patrick Stiles Vitalytics webinar that we did. I think that's from Francois. Thanks for a great session. You're welcome. I think, okay, cool. Janice got the link from Kathy already. Fantastic. So I'm going to head on over to Facebook and hopefully not get too distracted. And we will see if there's anything over there for in terms of questions. I think we're good. I think you guys were all over in the webinar, which is good. So this is my last call for questions. It's not too late. If anybody has any questions, also, if any of you would like to raise your hand in Zoom, there's a little raise hand somewhere down there. If I see any hands pop up, we can go live and have a live conversation if anybody wants to. If not, that is okay. But if anybody would like to talk live, we can. And I'm just going to check the Q&A and questions to see if we've got any more in the chat. Nasim says, thank you a lot for the work. You're welcome. I appreciate it. Thank you for being here. Kathy's got Kurt's comment there. So retrievalpractice.org. I'll be geeking out on that later. And awesome. Well, I think that is it for this webinar about how to use quizzes, how to think about them. I hope I've given you some new ideas or helped remove some blocks around quizzing or testing or examinations. And I look forward to seeing how you use them in your learning environment. So keep an eye out for advanced quizzes rolling out on December 28th. I hope everybody has a great holiday season. Thank you for being part of the LifterLMS community. And we will do more of these. So, and the next, we'll be doing a webinar on when this does roll out. So you'll see more on that. And then we'll be getting into the assignments functionality, which will really round out, quizzes and assignments and the core LMS features there. So Janice has a question about general e-commerce, which I'm happy to get into while we're connected here. So if you want to hang out or if you have any other questions while we're live here, feel free to drop those in. And but that's it for the formal presentation. And thank you again, everybody, for coming and being a valuable part of the LifterLMS community. We really appreciate it. We appreciate your feedback. We appreciate everything that you guys do and are here to serve you. Thank you to everybody who's helping other course creators out there in the Facebook group or through other channels. We really appreciate it. It's all part of what makes LifterLMS great. And I'm just going to take a few more side questions here. If anybody has that, feel free to hang out. If not, have a happy holiday. And we'll catch you right before the new year with advanced quizzes. All right. What is your question, Janice, on e-commerce? Did you want to raise your hand or just type it in? Let's see here. So you have some grayed out lines. Can you be more specific of where those grayed out lines are? Okay, we got a hand up. We're going to go live.
Oh, great. Can you hear me, Chris?
I can. How's it going, Janice?
Okay, I was wondering about that unmute. Thank you very much. Yes, I have it set up, I think, but where the person is supposed to put in their credit card information, it's grayed out. So in other words, they can't get in. It's actually blue.
Are you using LifterLMS Stripe?
No, I'm using WooCommerce. And
WooCommerce, like what payment gateway are you using with WooCommerce?
Well,
Braintree, Stripe.
Braintree, yeah.
Braintree?
Braintree and then PayPal. And then
PayPal?
I bought your configuration.
WooCommerce add-on. It sounds like something between WooCommerce and Braintree.
Okay.
If it's grayed out, it's not set up yet?
Well, maybe not. It's not set up yet.
Usually if something like that is just kind of there but not live, usually you have to get a key from inside of the account. So in this case, it would be a Braintree account, and then put it in the WooCommerce settings, and then that basically connects everything up and turns it live.
Okay, say that one more time. So I have to get a key, which I've done that for PayPal at another time. So I need a key.
Probably, yeah. It's usually called like an API key.
Okay.
I'm totally guessing here, but I think that you probably need your Braintree API key copied out of your Braintree account and pasted somewhere in the WooCommerce Braintree settings. And then once the payment goes through, WooCommerce and Lifter will work its magic and enroll the person in whatever course or membership they need to.
So, okay, so the key is, where do I put it in terms of in terms of Lifter?
It's not a Lifter thing. It's a WooCommerce thing. So
all right.
It's I would probably Google WooCommerce Braintree API keys, see if you could find something related to that.
Should have just bought Stripe, made it easier.
I like Stripe personally, but I know Braintree's got a lot going on too. So
yeah, okay. All right, okay, well, I'll work on it. Oh, and I was wondering too, it doesn't have anything to do with the SSL certificate because I still haven't gotten that. I'm waiting on it.
I know Stripe does require that. I'm not sure about Braintree, but that would be another likely culprit.
Okay.
But those two things are usually actually, I'm glad you brought that up for anybody listening. If somebody's having any trouble getting e-commerce like working and turned on, there's three main issues: API keys, SSL not set up, or you have it in some kind of test mode and haven't turned it live yet. It's one of those three things 90% of the time.
Okay. Good to know.
Cool.
Okay. Thanks very much.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for going live there. All right, let's see. Do we have another hand up? I think we are good. All right. Well, thank you again, everybody, for coming to this webinar. If you have any follow-up questions, feel free to hit us up at team@lifterlms.com, and keep an eye out for social learning coming out, or not social learning, sorry, advanced quizzes coming out on December 28th and dropping into the Infinity Bundle at that time as well. And we'll, of course, email you about that when that happens. Hope everybody has a great rest of your day, and thank you for coming.